the genes, I think.
And that's what what makes us the best profile to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know, for the sake of time, Mona, shall we start maybe?
Yes, definitely. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We are very happy to have you with us in this very special talk. This is a part of a Silicon Valley Channel series that we have started last year with LebNet. We are very thankful to LebNet to have this partnership ongoing. They are continuously introducing us to very inspiring speakers. Most of the time they are of Lebanese origins, and they have been successful outside of Lebanon in different avenues that are of interest to us at the Maroun Semaan Faculty of Engineering and Architecture. And today we have a very special guest who's going to be talking to us about entrepreneurship and AI from the context of her work at Université de Montréal. Thank you so much. And Dr. Awad will be introducing our speaker further.
Thank you, Mana. So again, I think today we have the really pleasure and the opportunity to hear from Nada Zogheib. She has really an impressive bio. I'm going to just touch base on some of the highlights of her career. Currently, she's the Executive Director of le Centre d'Entrepreneuriat de l'Université de Montréal. She has over 20 years of experience in sales coaching, customer service management, training and customer loyalty strategies in innovative technology companies. So she has spent several years promoting innovation technology and their services in North America, Latin America, North Africa, and the Middle East. So we look forward to hearing from her experiences. She's also responsible for setting up a proactive customer service and a retention and repeat business departments and methodology. And also as a customer service director, she enhances and optimizes a training program at Montreal. She also collaborated on several incubators, accelerators, where she is a senior consultant for sales intelligence department. She shares with the IT companies, commercialization phases, her particular experiences in management, and many others. Nada holds a BA specialized in translation from the University of Montreal, a certificate in law from the Faculty of Continuing Education of the University of Montreal, and a degree in political science with an option in international relations from Concordia University. Please help me welcome our speaker, Nada, and we look forward for a very engaging discussion. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Awad. Thank you, Dr. Itani. I'm very pleased to be with you, and it's an honor to give back to our country and to the Lebanese people, my community. So I will try to share with you a story, my story and what I do, but also the ecosystem of the entrepreneurship in Montreal. What I would love is maybe if it's possible to talk to people with cameras on, and just to see your reactions. Sometimes it's good to see your reactions and to not talk to a picture. It would make it easier on me, so have mercy on me. If you would like to put your cameras, I would really appreciate it. And I would really rather on having a monologue and a presentation, interact with us if you have a question. I know that we have a period of Q&R at the end, but please interrupt me. That would make it much dynamic, and you would have more fun than just listening to my voice going on and on. So I will share with you, I prepared something, and I will be sharing it with you. Hope technology works. Everybody can see it? Okay.
It is. We can see it.
Great. Thank you very much. So I can't see you all, but if some of you can put the camera so I can see, other than Dr. Awad, you're very pretty, but it would be better just to make it more interactive. So أول شيء خليني أقول لكم ميرسي. احكي بالعربي، نحن لبنانية بين بعضنا، مش لانه بمونريال، مش لانه بس ايوبي بنحكي انجليزي. فانا بقول لكم مرحبا من مونريال. And شيء أكيد مثل كل اللبنانية رح نخلط عربي إنجليزي فرنساوي بقى أنا كتير مبسوطة أكون معكم اليوم وإن شاء الله أقدر أعطيكم كم فكرة وإذا في عندكم سؤالات يا شيء بعدين فيكم ترجعوا تسألوني إياهم. It would be my great pleasure. So okay, so let's start to get acquainted. Thank you, Dr. Awad, for a nice introduction. My story is I left Lebanon like all the community basically in the 90s. So it's been over 30-ish years, even though I'm still 28. And I insist on that point. My age is 28. I left and it's been over 30 years I'm in Canada, but I'm still a proud Lebanese Canadian. And thank you, Hussein. And I'm passionate about innovation and startups. Why? Let's start by I'm a mother, I'm a business coach, I'm a speaker. That's all that. It's still, I would say, being a mother, it's my main job. But being passionate about startups, it came to me very late after my studies at the university. I came here, I wanted to do law studies. I started at the USG, sorry, AUB. بس أنا تلميذة كنت USG. I know it's not something بس كلنا عائلة وحدة. But when I came to Montreal, I wanted to continue my law studies, and my main focus was to go back to Lebanon. So when I started to look into the law here, I saw that I wouldn't be able to practice in Lebanon if I do law in Montreal. It's a different law. It's the Commonwealth law, so which is completely different. So that's what took me into translation. And when I started my translation, when I finished my degree, I was hired by a company. They wanted me to translate a software. In the 93, it was like software nobody would understand. I was scared to push a button and I was scared to touch a computer. That was like really very early stage, and it was into public security. And in Quebec, having anything to do with public security, government has to be in French. And the person was doing and putting his software in English, so I had to translate it in French. So that was my first, I would say, connection with innovation and with software and with IT. So, and it was a small startup, and I grew with this company for a certain 10-ish years, and everybody thought I was a part of the company. So that's how much I was involved into the startup and to make it grow. And that's where we started to do international business development. The software still runs in Brazil, runs in Costa Rica, it runs in Malaysia. So that how much innovation for me, it came not from my studies, it came out of an opportunity that I was able to enhance. So I was able to go through business development, sales, coaching, and trying to innovate in some processes like the business, the retention and the repeat business. So that was something that came to me into it. And then I got implicated in LC Tech Hub that became LebNet, to give back to the community, to help Lebanese people coming to Montreal, how we can help them find or adapt to the culture, how we can help them find different opportunities, job opportunities. So that's where for me, it's important to give back to the community. Enough talking about me. Let me introduce to you what I do today. If it wants to roll. Okay. So today I'm the executive director of what we call, it's kind of an incubator within the university, and it's becoming a trend in all universities in North America to have incubators where we want to help or stimulate students to try entrepreneurship, to try to bring their project into a certain format of a project for an entrepreneur and for a company, and we try to give them everything into it. Prior to talking about the center, I just want to locate the University of Montreal. So I studied at the university, and I didn't intend to work. I never thought I would work back at the university. So I came back into it. The University of Montreal, very bizarre enough, nobody thinks that it ranks the first in Quebec. Everybody, I'm sure that you heard of McGill, of Concordia. Everybody thinks it's McGill, but let me assure you, University of Montreal ranks first in Quebec, fourth in Canada. We have Toronto and we have BC and Vancouver that's runs first, and it ranked 73rd in the world among, I think, 150, something like that. So it's a very important university, even if it's a francophone university, but it's still very up ranking. We have around 600 study programs, 13 faculties, which is a huge. And just the community of the University of Montreal, it's over 60,000 students. Hence, to let you know, you've heard of Polytechnique and you've heard of HEC. If you did, these are two entities. They are still linked to the University of Montreal. And if I add their students, we will have a community of over 80,000 students. Polytechnique, they have around 8,000. HEC, they have around 13, 15,000. So can you imagine? And they are all under the umbrella of the University of Montreal. But Polytechnique, it's for engineering tech, and HEC, it's for the business, but they run their programs under the umbrella of the University of Montreal. We have around 7 campuses around the Quebec, which is like a lot. So it's a pretty much huge university that we're dealing with, and a good community. The center, we are a non-profitable organization, so we are not under the administration of the university, but we are funded by the university, and we are there to help and to give the services to all the community, students, undergrads, researchers, even the employees. If they have an idea, they can come to us and they can ask for our services, which they are all free. They do not pay for any of the services, and what they do, their projects, it's extracurricular, so they have to do it on their own time. What they do is to really learn how to become an entrepreneur, to get some tools and to run their projects. I will give you a little bit more information about that. We have several programs, but what we want to get is to really have pioneers, to really help and stimulate disruptors. They want to have an impact. We have a first program that's for the ideation and the innovation at large, into all kind of innovation. It could be in the service, in the process. So that's what we help. It's a kind of a program of three phases, each phase of 2-3 months, so it's not that much. And they have to go through workshops, coaching, very specific coaching. And at the end, they go through a jury, which they would select the 3 best, I would say, projects that's been pitched, because for me, all the projects, they are good. But the one they are pitched and selected, they would have a bursary. It can vary between $5,000 to $10,000, the bursary that has to be reinvested in the company because they have to create this entity. Technopreneur, it's mainly for researchers and scientists. They have a project they would like to form it as a company. Most of them, and one of the testimonials that we got and I loved, it's a researcher who said, I tried this program, I loved it. I'm a researcher. I hate being an entrepreneur, but I'm out of this program as a better researcher, going back to my lab and being able to enhance my research because I got the idea of the market. So it's not always to continue as an entrepreneur, but also, especially in this scientist program, to give them the tools to really push forward their research. We have another testimonials that it came, I was a researcher, now I became an entrepreneur researcher. So everybody would have his own angle and he will try to benefit out of it. And we have our famous datapreneur that really try to help projects that we would like to include the AI tool. And I'm really saying the AI tool, which is not a value. We will talk about it much more, but the AI has to come into a project. So we have Montreal, University of Montreal was one of the leaders in pushing the AI up to the market. And we have a lot of organizations that help old entrepreneurs. They want to get involved with the AI, but we are really leaders, and it's tending to grow as a program. Other things that we offer: workshops, coaching. We have also a co-working space that we offer to our entrepreneurs in order to come meet together. It's not a co-working place where they have tools. It's just a space that's dedicated for them to be able to meet as an entrepreneur. So that's what we offer them. And we have a lot of other workshops that we do. We also have conferences. We try to open up the network. That's what's for an entrepreneur, it's a must. How to be able to have their network, how we can put them into events so they can have networks. And we have conferences. Like this week, we are into the entrepreneurial health week, mental health. And that's something that we take care of, and we do conferences with that. We bring entrepreneurs, they had issues while they were entrepreneurs. So we try to bring experts to give them tools, how we can cope with that. And now, getting back to our main focus, what's the entrepreneurship? What is the posture or the reaction? I put the emojis because it really expresses our reaction or our posture towards entrepreneurship. There's some people they like it. There's some people they adore it. There's some people they don't want to have anything to do with that. And I know Dr. Awad and Mona, you've got a little poll for me. All I want to do is, please let me know how many of you have an idea of becoming an entrepreneur, or you are already. We're all Lebanese, we are all entrepreneurs. Who is already an entrepreneur or has an intention of becoming an entrepreneur? Just a yes or no, just to have a quick idea of it. I can see thumbs up. That's good. Okay. I love that. Even though nobody puts their camera, but it's okay. I can see your names. Oh. Oh, I think there's somebody who raised their hand.
So Dr. Shahab, I believe he's not just an entrepreneur, he even graduates entrepreneurs from his classes. Dr.
Oh,
Shahab.
wow.
Hi, Nada. I tried to turn my camera on, but for some reason it's not turning on.
I understand. No problem.
I think it might be a setup. I was just reaching Nadine. We will have to ask the audience and try to turn their cameras on. It could be that they have set it up. Okay. Sorry, Nada, it would feel like you're talking to just
No
you.
problem. No problem. But I think there was a question. I don't know. No? Okay. So already to have the thumbs up gave me a good idea that you are interested in entrepreneurial field. So, sorry, technology. I'm clicking. It doesn't want to. Okay. So what is being what's the entrepreneurship aspect is it to have a product, is it to make money, is it to just say I'm an entrepreneur, I'm independent, I'm my own boss? That's mainly what we think. Since I was a kid, everybody would say, oh, my father would say ما في حدا أحسن من ما يكون his own boss. I'm like, okay. And that's where it affected me being a lawyer. But everybody can be an entrepreneur if we think about it, or it's an entrepreneur aspect. But what being an entrepreneur, I went too far. I'm sorry. Oh, no, it's running really bad. Hold on, technology. Okay. So I went into Cambridge Dictionary to just look up what's the definition of being an entrepreneur. And it gave me this, and I just like highlighted some of it. It's an activity. Being an entrepreneur, it's an activity by itself where you think you are taking some risk or you are taking financial risk and hoping to make money. And I think all of us, we think that becoming an entrepreneur, it's like we can make more money than being an employee. That's the posture. On the other hand, it's like also you start a business because you seek or you've seen an opportunity that you want to grab it. That's being the real dictionary definition. If I go to my own through the years, what I've noticed, most of the time we search for a need, that we take it as an opportunity, and we become an entrepreneur for that need. That's where when we launch something new, it's something to answer a need. So for me, we solve a problem. We see an opportunity of a need. We create something for it. It could be, like I said, a service, as it could be a product, as it could be a process. There's a need for it, and we solve that need by our company that we are creating. The only thing is we have to think about having a business model around it. Otherwise, if I have that solution for the need, but I'm not organized to know how to give it and to let the others benefit out of it, that means there's no business model. Business model, that's what it's the company about. It's like the whole content that you put around your solution and you give it back. The only thing is, when you are solving a problem, you're making an impact. You're changing the way of doing things, and that would be most of the time the most important aspect. When you make an impact, when you change, when you are really trying to solve that solution, to do things differently. And that's what's about the entrepreneurship. Why do we want to do that? It's again to solve and to answer to a need. There's not enough aspect to stress that point. If there's no need for your product or for your company or the reason of your company, you might not be able to survive with it, and nobody would be interested because they don't need it. So always when I say, also I do some training and I have workshops in how we do the elevator pitch. All the time I tell them, you have to answer the famous question, why I'm solving a problem. Why am I talking to these people? Do they have an urgent need? Do they have just a need, or do they have a pain? That's where you have to answer that famous why. Why do you want to solve that problem? Because there's a need, there's a pain, and you want to solve it. Now, what do you bring to the table? It's your company, it's your solution. It could be one among everything already on the market, but still there's not enough for the needs. You can maybe stand out, and your company would stand out. That's what we'll see later on. That would be your innovation, because you have to be different of what's already on the market. Otherwise, you are a buffet, and they are just trying to select. If they would get to your plate, they will select from your plate. So you have to see how you can stand out to answer to that need. So that's the main focus you need to do. Now, let's go back to another little poll. Who can be an entrepreneur? If there's any specific profile, you have to be in a certain industry and answer to, or be an expert in a certain industry, or you're just an adventurous person that would like to take that risk that we've seen in the Cambridge definition, and you would be able to just say, well, today I felt I'm going to climb that mountain of being an entrepreneur, or am I an expert? So who can be an entrepreneur? Do we need a special profile? Yes or no? If we can just have thumbs up, do you think we need a special profile to become an entrepreneur? Can see some thumbs up. Okay. Okay. So most of you think that we can become an entrepreneur. To become an entrepreneur, we have to be Lebanese. We have to be resilient. That's the main focus of being an entrepreneur, but mainly, and the most important ingredient, to have the passion. Because we think that the road is going to be steady, it's going to be great journey, it's going to be, well, أنا بس ما في حدا بيقبلني، أنا الباترون تبعي وكل شيء منيح. I'm sorry, that's the reality. This is what we think, but this is the reality. Being an entrepreneur, it's spending over 80 hours per week because you're working for yourself and you want to succeed. You would be facing a lot of challenges. You would be facing lots of tornadoes. You would be also facing lots of, I can't do it anymore. I just wanted to let go. But if we have the passion, we will get there. If we have the resiliency and we know how to get our network around us, we will get there. If we seek the help, we will get there. So that's what in my center today at the University of Montreal, that's what we tell students as much as researchers, as much as entrepreneurs, because in the data AI, we accept outsiders. That's the only program that we accept people coming from the outside. So we try to focus on the fact you have to have the passion, you have to love what you're doing, because it's something that you're doing for yourself. Nobody is pushing you to do it or doing it for anybody else. You want to succeed, and there's ways to face all this obstacles that you will be facing during your journey. So have passion, and the main thing you need to do is ask yourself why. Why do you want to become an entrepreneur? Why do you want to solve that problem? Why do you want to make an impact on the society by solving that problem? If you're able to answer all the time, ask yourself the why. Also, you are in a program at the university today. Why you're doing it? Because you like it, because you think there's opportunities on the market once you will graduate from your program. So always think about the why. The how, that's your entrepreneur, that's your company that you're building. The what, it's the process that you're bringing as a solution. So if you were able to always think about the why, that would be the best thing for you. And now we have the main common mistakes I've seen through the years, and I've coached so many startups, and sometimes it's maybe a trend. So we try to always focus on do not, or try not do not, try to avoid these mistakes. Try. It's not always easy. Everybody thinks that I have the best. I have the solution. Everybody would believe me. Everybody will follow me. But everybody will follow me. Everybody will take my solution for granted. It would come to market validation. You have to do your market validation. You have to go and look into the market, what's already in there, why you're doing it, who's doing it, how they are solving it, and then you will be able to focus on how to get it there. Yes, you will find some typos. I'm sorry, I couldn't run it. So somebody told me that there's a typo. Yes, thank you very much. No team rallied. And I love what Steve Jobs says, and I believe in that. It's not to hire a team by itself, but to have your network around you, but the network who would tell you what to do. You don't need to hire people and tell them what to do in your company, because that means you can do it yourself. But to get the team around you and the network around you who can teach you something new, who can tell you what to do, that's what you need. That's the type of team who would make your company successful. So that's what you should always think about. And when you hire someone with competencies that you can really get something new with them and complement your knowledge and your expertise. Everybody would think it's going to be easy and fast because there's nobody who can do that. Nobody's giving this service. Either you're a Nobel Prize winner, if some they are, that means yes, everybody would rally around you and will follow your company, or you're creating something new. If you are the next posted 3M, and nobody can use it and you've created something new, yes, it would be easy and fast. But believe me, it would never be easy. It would never be fast. It's going to be a journey and you have to be prepared for that. But with the right tools, you will get there. There's a lot they would love to go to market and not to plan their strategy. It takes time before we start going to the market. It takes energy, it takes preparation in order to know how you're going to target the market, to get all that prepared ahead of time, not while you're going to the market. That doesn't mean you have to do everything perfectly prior to starting to put your products on the market. That doesn't mean that. You can start do that, but you have at least to have a goal, an objective, and a time frame when, how, and then you can prioritize your strategy. The market validation will get you to know your direct clients, but also your competitors, your substitutes, how your clients today are solving their problem. If it's something that you're going to be bringing that new, and they would have to change their way of doing things, that's something that you would need to consider, because otherwise it's going to be what we call in our language in companies a long sales cycle, because the longest it's going to take before they would buy your products, that means you're putting money out of your pockets. So that's where you have to think about. I've seen also the main thing, well, I need to put my name out there. I need to let people know who I am. So they put 90% of their time and budget into the branding, because if people know that I exist, that means they would come to me. Not necessarily. You need to go to them. It's not up to them to just come to you, but you need to go, you need to reach out, you need to make them know who you are. And that's how you should balance your branding versus going to your market. So at the end, there's a lot that would say, well, I have a good product, it's validated, I targeted my market, why I'm not able to get some? You have to think, are you prepared to deliver? Because once they buy, they will ask you for support, they will ask you for knowledge, for training, they will tell you, well, it's not working properly. You have to be able to answer to everything once you deliver. And the most important thing, if it's a product, you need to deliver on time. If you promise that within a month or two that everything would be delivered, you have to keep your promise. There's always a buffer time that I tell my customers to put into their time frame in order to just, there's always, we are in technology now, there's always something that would not work properly. So you have to take your buffer time, but you have to prepare to deliver. So that's some of the most common mistakes. The other thing is what I tell most of my startups, listen, I'm telling you there's the wall and you're here. Either you try to listen and listen properly to what all the network is telling you, the right network, instead of just running into the wall and banging your head into the wall. Either you would listen and you won't go to the wall, or I'll give you a helmet and just good luck. So that would like really lessen a little bit your impact. Or you go into the wall, you give it a try, and I'll be praying for you. So what that means, at the end, the entrepreneur has to make his own choices. You can have the best team, but you're still the one who has to make the right choices and who has to make the decisions. And whatever decision you will make, you should be prepared for the consequences. So either you put the helmet, either you avoid the wall, or it's okay to go into the wall, but go into the wall and just minimize the impact. That's all. But at the end, you will always hit a wall and you will always have some bruises, but just be careful how you hit that wall, because it's not, I'm not going to lie to anybody. And that's what I make a point with my startups. When they come to me, Nada, why it's not working? I'm sure it's going to work. You're not. Fine, go make your mistakes. You need to make your mistakes. That's how you can grow your company. And you can grow, there's two things, as an entrepreneur and as a company. These are two aspects that you need to consider by itself. I don't know if there's any questions. I feel that I've been talking a lot and no reaction. So please, if you have any questions, ask. God, you're so good. So now we spoke about innovation. What is innovation? There's a lot of people that would think that it's a trend like the AI. Yes, it's different than having what I would call it a professional entrepreneurs. There's several various numbers of being an entrepreneur. Today in our center, we are trying to widen up the concept of entrepreneurship, going to the faculty of law. They are entrepreneurs, but they do not learn to become an entrepreneur. They are learning to become a lawyer. They are learning how to take a case, how to debate the case, and all the laws. Do they learn how to become an entrepreneur, to open their office and to manage their office, to manage their human resources, to manage their finances? Not necessarily. There's not enough courses for that. We go to the pharmacy faculties, and we brought the president of the faculty, and they do not have courses to run a pharmacy. A pharmacy by itself, it's a company, it's an entrepreneurial aspect. So today, there's innovation in IT, in AI, and all that stuff. There's projects that they are disrupting, but also there's the entrepreneurial into the regular, what we call the regular ink. And we have also the social impact entrepreneurs. They are like co-ops, associations, and we have the innovative aspect. So what is innovation? Again, are we talking about how to get more money out of something different, or are we talking about another product that I make it differently? I just saw, I think it's talking about standing out, how we can, a new startup struggle amongst giants with substitutes product without giving in to being bought off. We will talk about that, because that's sometimes people that would go, I'm innovative, I'm new, and I've done something different, and people will buy me off. That happens especially in Montreal, in Quebec. Quebec, it's such a tiny province towards Canada and towards the US. And there's a lot of people, they would just, the moment they grow, they are bought off by our dear neighbors in Silicon Valley. So yes, it happens. But innovation also is to stand out, but also to do the famous social impact, to change things, to have a different way of doing things. And I love Mr. Mike Grandinetti, who used to be at the MIT, and he's a coach, and he's an expert in sales development. And what he talks about innovation, he's talking about disruption, social impact. You change the way of doing things. Being innovative, it's to stand out, like you said, but also being innovative is to make things differently, to change the way people have been doing things for years, and you're trying to do it differently. And that's what would makes you stay ahead, and that's what would makes you stand out. And there's workshops about how we can improve our innovation, how we can make it more, I would say, visible to the market that we're trying to target. Because some people, they wouldn't understand. You're bringing something new. You have to teach them. You have to let them understand that there's something different. Usually people that would say, and I will, I don't know if I can go back. No. If I go back here, is I'm trying to make a different way of doing things. I have several products on the market, but I'm standing out with one. That would make things differently, but that would make you, Mr. Customer, save money, time, and do things faster. That's how we can, the same slide, we can see it in different perception. So it would be, what am I bringing to the customer now? It's not what I'm bringing to my own company. I can, with my innovation, make you save money, save human resources, make your things faster and better. That's innovation. That's what we can bring to the table. Again, being an entrepreneur is have passion. Being an innovative entrepreneur, it's passion about the problem. When we have the passion about the problem, that means we are trying to make things differently. We've seen the need, we've seen the pain. I want to make that problem go away, and that's innovation. Innovation wouldn't be, oh, just to make my company different, to stand out. No, it's to make the problem go away. That's innovation. Or to make the problem in a smaller way, to solve it in a better way, to make it, I would say, for less wide around the market. That's the innovation. So it's the passion about the problem. Don't know if we have any questions so far. What I wanted to do is to give you a little portrait about the Quebec aspect with innovation, where we find the innovation most of the time in IT. These are like very old numbers that I kept there because they don't do every year new stats. It's like almost every 5 years. We are about to find new stats. They are working on it. But just to let you know, in 2007, we had 6,000 companies in IT, which is not huge. In 2017, we have 7,000, around 8,000 companies in IT, and I'm talking about IT. Today, and that I just added that this morning, I received some facts. In Quebec, they had a count of 11,000 companies in social economy. It's huge. That's the new trend. They employ around 220,000 persons, and this is what they generate in revenues. So just in Quebec, and this is brand new. They it just came in this morning. So it's not just IT; it's everything that has an impact, and that's what's going on. And within these numbers, that's where I need to specify. 95% of these companies, the 8,000 companies, they are under 50 employees. So they are like small companies, but they have a huge impact in the revenues they are generating. So we don't need to be a huge company. We don't need to always sell our passion to big companies to make money like that out in one shot. You can have an impact. Even if you are a small company, you can still have an impact and generate a lot of money. And that would become with innovation because they are doing things differently. So being a small company, being a startup, it's something that makes an impact, it makes a difference. And on the longer term, it can generate a lot of money than just selling it one time in one shot. These are like some facts that I've seen also recently that I was able to get my hands on. I'm sorry they are in French, but I'll translate them. The intention to create a company or to take over a company, because we have a problem in Quebec nowadays where we have a lot of generation. They're not taking the company of their family, and these companies, they are like, what do we do with them? I can give you an example for that. I think you heard about the store Adonis on Montréal. Adonis, it's the Zogheib family. They started, there were 3 brothers, I think, and they started this huge market for Lebanese food. And it's all over Canada now. They have a lot. And the Zogheib family, they came 5 years ago to a point where they wanted their kids to take over. The kids said, we're not interested. And they were able to negotiate. They sold their market to another big brand called Metro. And they kept a clause where within 5 years, the kids can always take over the company, but the kids, they don't want to. So now we have a Canadian brand who owns Adonis, where they ask the Zogheib, they are like really fantastic Lebanese community and entrepreneurs. They ask to keep the brand as is. But you know, when you have an outside brand, they would change things, but most of the time it's still Adonis, still there, but the kids didn't want to take over an empire. It's not just a small company, it's an empire. So that's an example where we have to take over the companies. So in these stats, what I liked, and these were like between 2019 2020, That's very recent. We have in 2019, we had 23% of men, they wanted to start or they had an intention to create a company versus 18 in 2020. That's when we started the pandemic. So we have to keep that factor in mind. Pandemic a little bit at the beginning shook people with the intention of becoming entrepreneurs. Nowadays, it's not a problem. On the contrary, we have a lack of talent, but we have a lot of people that want to become entrepreneurs. So we can't have anybody to work in the new companies they want to create. Women, we had 17% in 2019, 15%. So it's not that bad. We're still there. What struck me a lot, it's the age, 18 to 34 people they want to do and become entrepreneurs. That's why I'm saying being an entrepreneur, it's becoming healthy and it's becoming really there. So 34% between the age of 18 and 34. This is my community at the university, most of it. We have other. And the other thing that struck me, it's the immigrants. All new immigrants coming to Montreal or Quebec or Canada, their first intention is to become an entrepreneur. And it's still there. Can you imagine? It's really high. So being an entrepreneur, it's becoming more and more interesting and stimulating. And it's really something that people can really look forward. And I'm very optimistic with my community. We still have work to do to initiate, stimulate students at all levels, researchers to become entrepreneurs, but I think we are on the right road. One other thing I would like to mention, as women being an entrepreneur. Last year in Datapreneur, we in our programs, I didn't talk to you a lot about our procedures with the programs, but we go through a selection period. We do not just take all the candidacy that they will come to us. We do recruitments, but we select the project that we think we believe that we can help them and there's a good posture for them to continue. In Datapreneur last year, we had around 25 candidacy. We had 12 companies that did the program, and out of the 12, we had 4 they were led by women. This year, the one that we just finished in March, we had over 50 candidacy. We selected 18 projects because a project can have several persons around it. From the 18 projects, at the second jury, we had 6 companies led by women and 6 by men, because they go through phases and they are selected to continue the phase. And at the end of the program, the recipients of the grant, they were like 6 out of 8 led by women into companies within AI. And for us, that's really something major, because we used to have a lot of problems to attract women into the IT innovation entrepreneurs. And today in AI, we are attracting basically more, which is really optimistic. So women, go for it. Men, get ready for the competition. That's all what I can say. But it's really going there and it's really optimistic. Another type, the type of market they are growing in Montreal or in Quebec in general, we have the VR, the AR, AI. It's been like 5 years that it's like the new flavor that we have. Cybersecurity now it's growing. The IoT also, automation and gaming. I'm pretty much sure you all heard about gaming. It's really growing. I will address these two a little quickly later on. Mobility also is becoming another trend. Cybersecurity and mobility, especially within the technology and engineering, like Polytechnique, they are really focusing. Concordia, they are focusing. We also have everything that has to do with technology into health. The health sector, it's growing fast in Canada in general, not just in Quebec. And it's something that we're trying to get AI with health. So we will see that later on. So that's a little bit about the market. If I pick the AI, that's what we have as clusters in Canada. And believe me, Montreal, which is the third over here, but it's been growing. This is in 2017, but believe me, Montreal is growing more and more with the clusters and the hubs that we are having around. We have a lot of accelerators like the center. We have Santec, CEM. We have so many. Each university nowadays, McGill, Concordia, Montreal University, UQAM, we have the another university. They all have their accelerators and incubators within the university. Toronto, it's growing really big, but Montreal, it's, I would say, picking pretty much towards Toronto. Vancouver, they are like, because they are a good reach to the American market, but believe me, Montreal, it's really growing fast there. So we have a good ecosystem for the AI, and it's really giving more and more research labs. That means even the University of Montreal, and keep it between us. ما تحكوا لحدا، هيدي بيني وبينكم. University of Montreal, they will be building what we call the Innovation Pole Center. It's a huge center they want to build. It's going to be announced very soon with a big donation, blah, blah, blah. And the Innovation and Numeric Center, it's to give labs where the companies, they would come and use softwares, holograms. It's like the very high tech end they will have to let these companies, startups, benefit from these tools that they cannot afford and really create new disruptive companies. And who will be linked to that? We're working together with them on that aspect, but it's going to be a huge announcement. Just to let you know, universities, it's been like 4 or 5 years, they've been really growing with innovation and creating entrepreneurial path. University of Montreal wanted to stay a little bit far back into the academical aspect. They didn't want to go too much into entrepreneurial aspect. Now they are trying to pedal a little bit more and to get to the same level as the other universities. McGill is very, very advanced into entrepreneurial aspect. Concordia is growing with what they have. District 3, they are really growing with that. But now University of Montreal, who was a little bit behind, is going to be like pushing very, very far, and it's going to be announced very soon. So they are like trying to change the thing and to be up there. Why do we talk about AI? Why do we want to have AI? And maybe I would say something that's not going to be good for everybody. You would say, oh, what is she talking about? Dr. Awad, I know that you're into it. So I will be talking about it just from the entrepreneurial aspect, the famous AI. And that's where you need to keep that in mind, okay? So bear with me, Dr. Awad, and if I say something very bad, please say, Nada, you're wrong. I don't mind, okay? So let's do that. So why do we want to do AI, okay? I think we want to change the future. I think we want to help these guys. Please do something for them. Give them something innovation. AI innovation. AI, is it a market? I didn't ask that question in the poll, but do you think AI is a market? Just give me a thumbs up. Can't see a thing. Is AI a market? Okay, yes, I have one thumbs up. AI is a market. Okay, the other, they are very cautious. I have 2, 3. Okay, okay. So you think AI is a market? Thank you, Zain. AI is not a market. AI is a tool. So we'll see that. So that's why I'm saying I'm controversial, but AI is not a market. AI is not an opportunity. AI is a tool to add to our innovation. I've kept it in French because I don't want to change or translate wrongly. Even I'm a translator, but bear with me. Mr. Gary Gipatti is the responsible of the biggest accelerator of AI that Ericsson put in Montreal. And they asked him, why do you want to train people into AI, and what does the AI gives as represents as a possibility of doing business for for companies. And what he said is AI helps industries to get or to increase the productivity and to be able to predict and to detect problems. So when I see something like that coming from a huge company like Ericsson, and they are like really implicated, and it's one of the biggest accelerator for AI, that gives me right to say AI is a tool. AI is not a trend. AI is not a market. AI is like innovation. AI is like the IT. It's a tool that you add to your product to make it better. Yes, it gives it a better value. It gives it a better benefits. Yes, because the impact of the AI, that's what we can have as I would say differentiation having the AI. It's what the AI would bring as a result to your customers, and not because you have AI in your product, that means you will sell more. You can have a better company or a better product with no AI giving a good result, but you can have another kind of result for another type of industries where you can give them a better result because your tool use the AI. But the AI, it's not when you start your company. The AI is something that you will build on, and we'll talk about it. Because also where what I've got, they say, 84% of executives say they won't achieve their growth objectives without the scaling the AI. That's wrong, in my opinion. That's really wrong. You have to think about what do you want to change with your business. You have to think about what do you want to reduce. These are the main questions that you need to ask yourself. I'm sorry. Okay. So you have to really ask your question, why do you want to put the AI? What's in it for you? But mainly, what's in it for your customers as benefits that you're going to give them if you add the AI? That doesn't mean you can't grow if you don't have the scaling of the AI. Okay. Yes, Mona, I'll try to be faster. The deep learning, it's becoming also something that you need to be careful with, because they are making some researchers and they are doing experiences where they are fooling all the AI tools they are detecting. And I can give you the reference for this article where they really gave all the information about how they were able to fool just with the stop sign for a car, the Google car. It crashes because they were able to fool the stop sign. Instead of reading stop, the car read 45 miles per hour and the car crashed. So they are able to fool everything that has with the AI. So be careful. AI is still a tool. Okay. Just a little bit of the ecosystem in Montreal. They are linked to the University of Montreal, and I'm very proud of that. Mila, it's one of the first research institute for AI, and it has over 500 researchers specialized in the field of machine learning. I don't know if you heard about Joshua Bengio. He's one of our leaders, scientists in AI. He's really our collaborator, and he did Element AI, a successful company that now he created controversy because he just sold it to the Americans. And that's the main problem in Montreal and in Quebec and in Canada, that whenever the company grow, whenever the company is doing something different, recognized worldwide, boom, we're making money out of that. So that's something that we're still trying to digest it. Oh, I'm sorry. Scale AI, it's a software cluster specialized in supply chain. That's what we're pushing into the AI today, the supply chain, where we want new entrepreneurs to innovate with that, and we are really implicated with them. Ivado, it's linked a little bit with Joshua also, where it's a collaborative institute for excellency and funds, and we are funded by Ivado for Datapreneur. We also have and worked with the University of Laval and the scientist in chief of Quebec, with the International Observatory on the social impact of the AI and what do we do with the data. And that's really becoming something very, very important to, we are introducing that into our workshops for the AI entrepreneurs, where you have to think about the ethics and the governance of the AI and the data into your company once you start with that. Inventé, it's everything that has to do with social, techno-social innovation with the AI also, but especially with the techno-social. And this is another thing that we at the University of Montreal were able to put in place to help the social impact with the researchers. That's another ecosystem of the Canadian AI actually in Montreal. It's growing. We have a lot of organizations in there. We have lots of, I would say, incubators also. So we have, Montreal is becoming the hub for the AI. And you will see not just the hub for the AI, but for the gaming industry also. The gaming industry, it's another trend that's been 4 or 5 years. It came also with the AI thing. Canada ranks third in the world, just behind the US and Japan. So we have our place into the gaming. We have over 400 studios for the gaming aspect. It's still the talent, it's still needed, and it's something that people are really going into that field for to find a job. 80% of all the Canadian game studios are located in Quebec. So we have something going on in Quebec. The game industry in 2017 reported that we have around 3.7 billion of the GDP of the Canadian market. So it's a huge, huge, huge market. That was 2017. I can assure you it's still increasing in 2020 and 21, and along with the AI. And now we are linking AI into gaming and gaming into AI. So it's like kind of coming together, and we have new innovation with that. Our challenges today, still the talent, recruitment, talent, find the good expertise. Yes, we have a lot of companies growing, but we still seek talents now more than ever. And I know that there's some initiatives that's been created through LebNet, but through other companies, other organizations to get talents, let's say from Lebanon, that you can work for companies. They are located in Montreal. The pandemic had a good impact where we can open all the boundaries and work through the visio conference and the web. And these are good options that a lot of Canadian companies and Lebanese Canadian companies, they are trying to seek to have the talent from Lebanon out there. So that's what I wanted to go all over with you today. And if we have time, I don't know, to have some questions. And believe me, you won't pay for the questions if my...
Yeah, Dr. has actually, he had a question. He had raised his hand. He's also an AI professor at AUB.
Okay.
Dr. Hazem.
Thank you, Mona. And thank you, Ms. Zogheib, for the excellent presentation. I'm an academician. Unfortunately, I dream of being an entrepreneur, but it's something I fear doing. So I don't know if I'll ever do. My question was, and I think you answered it after I paused my question. My question was about entrepreneurship and AI, and you know, inspired from the title of the seminar. Is there anything specific about AI entrepreneurship beyond the other entrepreneurships? And by the way, I do disagree with you about AI not being a market. Everybody is calling themselves AI, but I'm not going to have that discussion.
That's why I said it's a controversial discussion. Even here in Montreal, we and among the different organizations, we have this discussion. Yes, I think there's a posture. There's, I would say, a way of becoming an entrepreneur within the AI. You need to understand what the AI is first. You need to also agree with the AI, because AI, it's something different. It's doing things differently. It's another, I would say, attitude that you need to have once you are into this whole world of the AI. And we know AI is not new. It's been there for a while, but now we're giving it back into the company, into the market. And I think if you want to become an entrepreneur in AI, either you need to really understand AI or to have the real good team around you who can advise you how, when, and in what way you can enhance your innovation with the AI, because that's what AI is for me. It's to enhance what you're bringing to the market. You have to build your company. You have to go get data before you can put the AI and try to interpret this data. So that's why for me it's a tool you add into whatever innovation you're putting out there. So in order to be successful as an entrepreneur in AI, either you have to really be a good acquainted with the AI concept, or have people, a good network around you who can advise you properly how and when you can add the AI to your innovation. Because otherwise, it would just be diluted into just the product. You have to make it stand out, what it's bringing to the product, your AI. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
So maybe if I can add that, so Hazem probably spared me, this the disagreement when he said, because he's AI, we both do work in the same department. We both started this track that we were discussing earlier offline in AI, and we're very proud of the level and the courses and the enthusiasm that we see in our students concerning AI. And it's interesting that because from your background and you're really from the entrepreneurship, you talk about AI as a tool, and I can see this with the explanation that you provided, and maybe because there's really no yet unique, well-described definition of AI. So for us researchers, academicians in AI, we think about what we call the weak AI, the strong AI, the AI that is as a market, not just as a tool. But maybe the market now, where it is in terms of the entrepreneurship, in terms of the innovation that can happen, is just looking at the first phase of this, what we call the shallow or the weak AI. And in that perspective, I think I do agree with you that you're looking from that perspective as AI being a tool more than the market itself. But we hope that things, the landscape in this environment will change given the advancement in technology, in computing, in data, that eventually there will be a market for AI soon in innovation.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Awad. And yes, you're right that we are looking at it into a certain perspective. One major factor that made us get to that, because you have to think we are still working with a very early stage new entrepreneurs getting into the market. Nowadays, everywhere we go and you've seen the cluster that we have in Montreal specifically, the hub that it's growing so fast, the organization they are there. There's so many, and there are so many trying to interpret the AI in a different ways, that it's really taking a different, I would say, tangent that's not maybe the right one, that we need to get the new students or the new entrepreneurs into it. One thing that I didn't mention also in Datapreneur, and we work very closely with Mila and Scale AI and Ivado, and they are like, as you've seen, for researchers also, but to fund researchers, while Mila, they are researchers to really grow with the AI. And we've seen that the knowledge of the students, they are in innovation or any kind of ways, it's not very well developed. So like what you said, you're really taking it to the other level. And we're trying to push students to develop something within their new innovation, linking to the AI, but right from the beginning, and where they want to take it to a deeper level, not just as a tool, but to take it to the deeper level. So before we do that, we started to tell them, listen, you have to really think about what you want to change with your company, with your innovation. Then you will add the AI. It would give an impact. Then from that impact, go deeper into the AI. But don't go deep with the AI without knowing what's the AI by itself and thinking that the AI is going to get you the market right away because it's becoming like an added value in my pitch. Hey, listen, I'm a company, I have AI in my innovation. That means I'm going to sell. And that's what we're trying to make them understand. AI is much more than just a benefit or an added value that you can go and make it as an argument to sell. You don't sell with the AI, you sell the impact of what you're doing because you have the AI implemented there. So today in Datapreneur, we're trying to create a new program for what we're calling student data or data for students, something like that. We're really working with that, where we're trying to get them to think about the AI as an innovation, as something that you will make a difference and a social impact with it, and not just as a brand that would make me sell. Like we did with the governance and the ethics of the data, we are including these workshops into our program where people will come and say, not because you say I'm ethical with my data, that means I can sell. It doesn't have to be an argument. It has to be a posture. It has to be an attitude that you decided to take this data and to be ethical with it and to make a good governance with that, but not to make it as a brand that you can sell because of that. So there's an attitude that we're still working on, and I totally agree with you. And that's why I raised the flag saying I'm going to be controversial, because I know it's not what it has to be as a tool. But yes, we can develop a market if the market is well educated and ready to understand what the AI would make as a difference. So that's my vision in that.
Actually, to agree with you, Nada, I mean, I agree and disagree. I mean, I agree that definitely AI is a tool, but also AI is a market. I think it's both. I think it's both. And I think, you know, a lot of the companies are distinguishing themselves based on the AI they use oftentimes. And, you know, sometimes they take things off the shelf and solve certain problems, but they also, many of them are developing AI for advances. So I think it's both. I don't think it's just one or the other, but 100%. In all cases, it's what value are you bringing that matters. What problem you solve. I agree with that.
Absolutely. And I didn't mean to push the buttons, but I know I wanted to make reactions. So, and believe me, we have this discussion a lot, and we're trying to get to that point where the AI would become something, because it's getting in all kind of businesses. I told you it's now more and more used in the gaming. Can you imagine how much is going to be pushing buttons in the gaming, the AI? It's wow, it's how can you really gather all this information and what to do with it? We've seen with Facebook and Google and all the data, LinkedIn, it's being reused in such a way that's governance, that's the ethics, but still there are people, they are thinking it's a new trend, that's what would make me sell. Meanwhile, it has to be used for a good purpose and in the right way in order to make a difference in the market and be able to get it to the market for the right reasons. So that's where we are into it.
I have two questions. So the first one is, like you mentioned several times in your talk that like you don't necessarily take like selling the company to the Americans in a good light, although in Lebanon, like influenced by Silicon Valley culture, I would say we'd consider this to be a successful exit of entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur. So it's my first question. Mm-hmm. And second question is, maybe I'm trying to learn from your experience, like how do you interact or work with the various AI players or ecosystem that you mentioned in order to bring more entrepreneurship and AI on the table and help your students do more of that?
Great questions, Mona, and we are really into this. Let me start with the first question. Our attitude in Montreal towards selling the companies, instead of taking it as a success, it's because we want to retain, and now I'm putting my hat as a Canadian, I'm sorry, It's to retain these success stories within Montreal, because Montreal is becoming a hub. It's stealing a little bit the show out of Silicon Valley as a hub. And one thing that makes the difference here in Montreal, in Canada, the entrepreneurs, they are so lucky because there's so much good program that the government is helping these companies to start and to grow. There's so many grants, there's so many loans. So the company, from the taxpayers, they are reinvesting in these startups in order to do these businesses. And the moment they become successful, instead of staying in Montreal or in Canada in order to give back to the society who helped them build their success, they are getting sold outside, and this other market is benefiting from these new companies. So that's why this poacher or this attitude towards, we would like to keep them here, we would like to bring them bigger and bigger. And funny enough, we have a lot of Lebanese entrepreneurs in Canada. They really did a great job in bringing their company into success, and they've sold it to Silicon Valley. As Lebanese, yay, I'm the cheerleader for that. As a Canadian who's implicated in the ecosystem of creating new startups, I'm like, fudge, not again, not another one. So like Element AI, it was so controversial because Joshua Bengio was supported by the University of Montreal financially and with the labs, by the government, so many grants, everybody was around. And now that Element AI is a really good company, growing and recognized, was sold. So instead of keeping it here and saying, look at all the success that we have, we're losing them. So that's why we have this poacher. But on the other hand, yes, we are very proud saying that Element AI is in Canada, is in the States. As for the second question, how do we work with all these clusters and organizations around us? We try, and we are really into it. It's funny enough, this week I've been, and I have lots of meetings with several one of them. Each one will bring something or an aspect or a perspective into the AI that we try to take with them. We have, like I said, with Ivado, we are growing. They invest into giving the grants to the companies they graduate from our program in Datapreneur. That's a part of contribution, but also they give a lot of workshops in how we can prepare them to the next level into going deep down into the research for the AI. With Mila, we're trying to bring researchers into the concept of the entrepreneurial aspect. So how can we stimulate them? How can we do activities with them? And what kind of workshops or programs we can give them so they can come and try the path of the entrepreneurship. With Scale AI, it's the supply chain. In my last program cohorts, we had 5 out of the 18 companies. They might really demonstrate that their AI applies for anything into the supply chain aspect. And Scale AI wants to fund us in order to push and give more workshops for the supply chain with the AI. So you see, each one of them has a part where we try to see what their focus and what do they want to bring out into the AI that we can collaborate with them into it. The observatory, we try to get the ethics and the governance of the data. That's what we bring into it as help that we can work together and collaborate together with that. I think there's someone who raised their hand.
Yes, I have a question. You
Yes,
previously talked about common mistakes you see in startups. Can you talk more about that, please?
On what aspect that would be more interesting for you? The common mistakes. Any risk, any specific risk?
No, nothing specific, but usually companies do mistakes, or sometimes they do mistakes that they are not aware of, and they get into problems and they do not know what to do.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I have a company that I'm still coaching. I've been coaching this company for the last 7 years now. And this person has an innovative panels of concrete that he created. So imagine innovation in concrete. And he's been growing. And one of his common mistakes that I still debate with him through the 7 years with him, his attitude towards potential associates or investors he will bring into the company. And this problem is, it is his baby. How can I give my baby to the others? I cannot give it to somebody else. He's not going to treat it well. While the common mistake he's doing is keeping it for himself. He's not going to help it grow fast, as if he will take the right associate. And I've been debating with him. He thinks that someone who has money will help him grow. And I'm debating with him, maybe if you take someone who has a good expertise in managing your company and your production, because you're, I would say, he's the creator, he's really artistic in his panels, but he's not really that a good entrepreneur. And that's where you have to think about, am I the right profile to manage the company that I want to create? Or should I bring someone who can manage it better for me, and I will be in the back end continuing to create or promote my innovation? And that's another common mistake that most of the entrepreneurs don't really realize, that not because you created your company, that means you have to be the CEO of the company. And that's what, when I talk about what Steve Jobs said, don't bring people where you would tell them what to do. Bring people who would help you to tell you how to do it better and how to teach you to grow with it. That's a common mistake. Another common mistake that I've seen, and into what I've said, they want to go fast to the market. And going fast to the market might burn your chances into succeeding. Prepare how you go to the market. Just not prepare everything, like I said, to the tiny details, but prepare how you go to the market and at what time and in what way. So that's what you mainly should consider, and validate your competition. When I have a lot of my innovation companies, when they come, I would ask them, who's your competition? Oh, I have none. Oh, that's a very big problem. If you have no competition whatsoever, that means you don't have a market. But if you don't know who is your competition, that's another problem. Go do your job. Go search and see who is your competition, because they might not be a direct competition, they might be indirect or substitute. Because if the need is there, somebody else thought about it, but maybe not in the right way that you did think about your innovation. So when they would say, I have no competition, unless you're a Nobel Prize and you created the next post-it with 3M that you're going to revolutionize the world, you have competition, but you need to get to know them. So if I can summarize, these would be the most important things to consider.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nada. We know we are at the limit of the time. We might, we don't want to delay you any further unless there is really a very pressing question. Last chance to ask a question for our speaker from the audience. If not, really, we want to thank you again. We're very fortunate to have you this afternoon with us to share your experiences, your advice, and your stories about entrepreneurship and AI. We look forward maybe for another potential collaboration, other talks that could be more part of this series. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me. ميرسي كثير، ونحن بنفكر فيكم هون، مش ناسيين لبنان.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Bye.